Today on the Laser Livestream, we're back in the workshop and I'm going to unbox and review the Atomstack AC1 Lightburn Camera. This is a USB camera that is an all-together package to allow you to integrate a camera into Lightburn and hopefully make your workflow that much smoother. Let's go. Atomstack contacted me a few weeks ago and asked me to take a look at this new product that they have released, which is a camera specifically designed for Lightburn. It's called the AC1, and it's a USB camera that plugs directly into your computer and allows you to use the facilities within Lightburn to be able to visually line up your jobs. Now, this camera is designed to be used with any type of laser that doesn't have an integrated camera already. And I've just received the package. So let's go over to the bench and let me unbox this in front of you for the very first time. All right, so this is the package. This is what we've gotten from China. You get it, it says right here on it, Model 1A, color black, Atomstack. So let's go see what's inside here. All right, so let's open this up and see what's here. We have small unit, but we obviously have some padding. Now, looking straight open, I recognize this. This is the grid alignment tool for Lightburn. It's great that they've added that in there. That's going to help us when we set it all up. Got these interesting markers. I've got a feeling I might know what that is. We have some instructions. This is really important. I love the fact that this comes as an actual document as opposed to just a PDF. Look, open it up straight away, and it already talks about the fact that the Atomstack Maker AC3 camera function is controlled by Lightburn. So you can see that this is totally designed for Lightburn environment. I can just flick through here really quickly. We'll go and I'll refer to this a little bit later. There you go. You can see exactly what those things are designed for. Awesome. This is literally going to make setting up a breeze. What else do we have here? Let's take a look. I think this may be the camera. It's in a static cling bag, so I think it's electrical. Let's take a look. Awesome. This is the camera, the Atomstack Maker. There we go, right there. So that's the camera. That's obviously the camera lens. It's got a mount right here, and it's got a USB. This will plug directly into the computer. So let's put that back in the bag. Let's see what else that comes out with. I also like the fact that this is small enough that if you happen to have a laser that has a cover, you could just stick it straight on there. So that's awesome. That flexibility is there. Let's put that away. Put it to the side. We have, I think this is like a tripod mount. It's not really a tripod, it's a monopod mount, but it also, I've got a feeling this is where we connect the camera to a table, especially when it comes to using a different type of laser that doesn't, let's say the ones that sit on the table. I'm going to use that today. We also have a tape measure that also comes in handy to work out the focus calibration. This would be the tripod ball mount head for the camera. It's awesome. What's in here? The other piece I was wondering about. This happens to be the mount for the table. I like the fact that this is such a wide clamp. In the past, I used desks that have quite a large area, and the fact is they usually only end up about this big, and then you've got to try and find an answer. The fact that it is oversized this way is wonderful because it means it will be able to clamp onto any desk, especially if it's a thick work desk or workshop table. That's awesome. So we're going to take all of these. There's nothing else here. Let's lay these things out. I'm going to go and get my laser. I'm using a very simple laser in this case. I'm going to be using the Afiro Laser 2. It was never designed to be used with a camera. And let's see how we can get that all together and working with Lightburn. So here I am with the Afiro Laser 2. This is a very basic entry-level laser. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up the Atomstack Maker AC1 Lightburn camera to use with this laser. Now, this laser was never designed to be used with a camera, and we're going to go through each step, setting up for the very first time using the Atomstack user manual. So let's get to the first step and let's see what goes on. Very first thing I need to do is grab the camera, open it up. And as I was showing you guys before, there's a mount at the back here, which we saw when we were unpacking. So the very first thing I need to do is place this ball mount onto the camera. And now that we've got that done, we'll place it down on the lens. And then the very next step we're going to do is use this extension piece. So let's lock it in here. According to the assembly steps, I actually need to also place the clamp on the table. Now we spoke about this before, but I love the fact that this clamp is so big. I'm going to place that in the middle here and just tighten it up. That's nice and secure. We'll release the clamp and place this piece in, which has all these measurements, which is also very handy to have. It's a little tight. I'm just going to pull that screw right out and see what's going on here. Yep, that's sitting there nicely. I'm going to move it so that it's actually all the way so I can read the measurements. Lock that in. There's a screw right here that fits onto the ball mount there, so I'm going to just screw that on. Got to use both hands. Just tighten that up. So you can see, literally I've done most of the work already. I'll raise it up nicely. Release the clamp, turn it around, take it to approximately the middle of my work area. I'll bring the laser a little bit closer. The last thing I need to do is just point the camera down. So right at this point in time, you can see that it is off to the side. That you guys can see this little notch here will allow me to point it 90 degrees down. So I'm going to move that right in there, move it into place, and tighten it up. That, for all intents and purposes, is all you really need to set this up in front of your cutting area. Of course, I will move the laser down a little further, and we will see how we can link this to Lightburn using the USB. And then, as you can see here, I've actually set up the camera onto my work table, which is what I thought was the correct way to go ahead and set this up. I turned the next page in the manual and realized that the camera is supposed to actually go on the frame of the laser so they're attached should you have to move it around. Now, the only issue that I have with the laser that I'm using in this review is that it has this curved molding as part of the frame, and the clamp will actually slip off, will actually move. So for the rest of this tutorial, I'm going to leave it on the table. Hey guys. I'd just like to take a moment to invite you guys to hit that thumbs up and the subscribe button if you're enjoying this tutorial so you don't miss out on any of the other laser tutorials, reviews, and basically everything to do with lasers that we cover on this channel. I also want to invite you to come by and join the laser live streams. This is a great opportunity for you to share your work with other laserologists like yourself who are exploring the realm of lasers. Now that you've taken a moment to join us and become part of our community here on YouTube, let's get back to the workshop and continue this review. So now that I've got everything set up, I'm going to actually run a bit of a test. Now, I want to make sure that this is dialed in correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper and place it in the cutting area. Let's smooth that down a little bit. And I'm going to hit the update. And you can see now that the camera's actually got an image on there, which is fantastic. I'm just going to make sure that it's all in. It's a little bit high, so it's out of the cutting surface. So if I want to just readjust that, I'm going to just turn it over so the upper part is out of the cutting area. I can just move it and hit this update overlay, and you can see the piece of paper is there. One of the ways I check my camera orientation is by creating this little grid and placing it on a piece of paper, and I'm going to use these pieces in a short while. So I'm actually going to duplicate it. We'll grab a second one. For this, I'm just going to make 2 of them. And I'm going to go into my cuts layer, check the settings, they're correct for this. And in fact, I'm going to cheat this a little bit. I'm going to actually put this right down low in the corner here. Just eyeballing it. I'll move this one up high here. And then I'm going to watch what actually happens when I run the job. Running the job now. Now I can see from the placement already that is really tight, really close. You can see there's the camera overlooking the whole job. Perfect placement, really. Look at that piece. Look at that corner. Look at that corner in Lightburn. I think even without testing it, you can see how fast you can line up your jobs using this camera. Now that everything's set up and everything's working, I'm going to run a test calibration with a grid that I came up with. This is the grid right here. You can see it's just a box with a couple of lines. I'm going to place it in the work area, and then I'm going to place some words to see how far off it is. Now, usually my experience has been with cameras that usually between 0 and 1 mil, you could have some sort of parallax because of the lens. Lightburn tries to take that into consideration, and there are ways that you can fine tune it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run these tests literally after setting it up for the very first time. So let's go over to the laser and I'll show you what I'm going to do in Lightburn. So I'm going to take this grid that I've made. I'll place it in the middle here. I'm going to come back over to Lightburn, hit the update overlay, and you can see the piece of paper is there. I'm just going to smooth that down because you might want to tape it in place. What I'm going to do now is grab my text and type in here Atomstack Maker AC1. Select it, move it down. I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller. When I zoom in, you're going to see exactly what I want to do here. I want to place that Atomstack word right in the middle. So right between the M and the S is my center line, and the rest of it dead on. We've got the AC3 right on that last line. Looks good to me. Let's go back to full. So it's pretty much in the top half of the workspace. Go to my cuts layer, check out it's on fill. I'm going to make that a line. I'm going to actually make that a little darker by maxing the power up to 80. So we can all see. And then I'm going to start the job. And there you have it, the first test. And you can see that from the actual test, that is just above the line. The AC1 is where I thought it would be. There may be just probably 0.5 mil. So in Lightburn, you can see that the line, it's like literally just like, actually, that looks pretty good. Probably, yeah, I'd say definitely 0.5 mil. So to me, that is a great result for the very first time that I set it up, gone through all the instructions, all the setup, and got the result that I wanted. This is a really, really fast way to be able to go and set up a camera with a laser unit that has never been designed for it or doesn't have that capability. It's plugged straight into Lightburn and you're able to get results literally from the first time you set it up. And there you have it, the Atomstack Maker AC1 Lightburn Camera. Set up, getting us results. The sun finally came out. It's just been gloomy all day here in the workshop. We're gonna head back to the studio and I'm gonna share with you my thoughts on this interesting camera. Okay, so we're back in the studio and I wanted to share with you my thoughts on this Atomstack Maker AC1 Lightburn camera that has been really interesting to explore. I really, first of all, want to thank Atomstack for sending this along. It's been really interesting to see another option when it comes to putting a camera and use it in conjunction with a laser. I really liked a lot of things. So let's go through the list. So first on my list of positives with this Lightburn camera kit is that it's just easy to use. You do need to have some familiarity with Lightburn, but physically putting the kit together is very straightforward. And then the instructions actually work you through each step of the tutorial. Now, if you're worried about going through the tutorial, about getting the camera to talk to Lightburn to get the results that we had here, don't worry about it. We have a step-by-step tutorial that I'm going to release very shortly that will take you from opening up that box, physically putting it together, but really concentrated on the different steps within Lightburn on how you can actually configure the camera and get a really good result. I'm going to post the link to that video down below once it's live, but all in all, this kit is really easy to assemble and get results from. To me, that's the most important thing when you're buying a kit, being able to get the results that were promised in an easy and quick way. The second thing that I really liked is that the kit came with everything that you needed. Sometimes you've got to run around finding a clamp, or you even have to modify kind of a jig to get the result that hopefully you were going to get when you buy it. Not in this case. So I was able to take everything that was in the kit and actually clamp the camera down to the bench. That gives it a lot of flexibility. I didn't have to find another clamp. I didn't have to run around the workshop. I was able to adapt the setup to the actual machine that I was using, which means that this kit is pretty much universal for any sort of laser that you have, regardless if it's a standalone open diode laser type machine or even a CO2 laser that has a cover. You should be able to stick the camera into the top cover and then do the calibration. Hands down on that, I like the fact that everything that you need is in the box, and that's again something that I really enjoyed being able to do, not have to run around and work out workarounds for things that might not have answered a really specific need. I think the third part that I really enjoyed about this camera kit is its flexibility. I did talk about it just before, the idea that you can use the stand and everything's in that kit, or you can place it pretty much anywhere you would like on your laser. I didn't go and place it in a covered laser to try it out, but I could see the steps being a lot faster. Just basically finding some sort of mount. Probably wouldn't use the ball mount in that case, but maybe even some double-sided tape temporarily to work out where it's best fit on the cover so you can get the full range of your work area, and just plugging that camera in and then going straight into Lightburn to get the results. So lots of flexibility with what they give you in this kit. And the last thing that I think is a real positive here is that you don't need any drivers or anything special. You don't have to go and do anything else outside of Lightburn. If you've got a copy of Lightburn, all you need to do is basically plug the camera in and then you're good to go. You'll get your image, you then go through your calibration and you're off. So you don't have to worry about downloading drivers, you don't have to worry about keeping them up to date, anything like that. It works. You can use this camera on either Windows or a Mac machine and it comes up natively. Nothing that you don't have to be a computer expert or anything like that. You can literally just plug this camera in. You can start working with new functionality within Lightburn. Now there are some things to be aware of, so I just wanted to share with you what I learned when I was reviewing this kit. The first thing that I wasn't really aware of, and it did catch me out, is that you need to have an open USB port on your computer. I'm talking physically here, nothing virtual in that. You need to be able to plug a USB-A connector into your computer. So I use a Mac, and the adapter that I used only had one USB port on it, and I had plugged that into the laser, which meant that I did have to do a little bit of scurrying around to find a different adapter that had multiple USB ports. It's just something to be aware of. If you happen to have a machine that plugs multiple things into a USB and they're all filled up, be aware that you are going to either have to sacrifice something that's plugged in or work out another accommodation to get another USB port in. Shouldn't be a problem to everyone, just something you should be aware of. Now the camera gives a really good image, But one of the things that Atomstack talk about in their sales pitch for this kit is that you can use the camera to record your laser operating. So if you're going to make YouTube videos like this, you may want to be able to record your laser in operation, and that's not a problem. Just be aware that the camera is a 720 camera, meaning that it's not full HD. If you do want to capture images and then use them in videos, you may have to upscale that. I don't think it's a really big drawback. Just wanted to share with you guys that the camera is a 720 camera. So if you do want to present in HD, or if you want to work with larger images, you're probably going to have to upscale before you're able to work with them. And the last thing that caught me a little bit by surprise, but it really wasn't anything to do with the Atomstack camera or Lightburn itself, but the laser that I was using was a very basic laser. And what I found was that after I ran the calibration tests, if I ever reset the machine, I had to go through that second step of actually calibrating the camera. Now this gives me a little bit of a suspicion that the settings for the camera is actually kept on board on the laser board as opposed to Lightburn. I'm not an expert here, but I did some fiddling around and I really couldn't get Lightburn to keep that calibration, which basically meant every time I had to reset the laser, I had to go through that camera calibration step. It's not terribly hard to do, and to be honest with you, after doing it 3 or 4 times, I became an expert. Really, the longest part was getting the laser to put the calibration marks on multiple pieces of paper. I'll go through a lot more of that through the calibration tutorial I'm going to put up about this Atomstack camera, using it with Lightburn, but it's just something to be aware of. If you happen to use a later type of laser, you shouldn't have any of those problems. It just meant that sometimes when I needed to reset either Lightburn or the laser, it just meant one more step before I was able to continue working with the camera. All in all, those 3 points don't take away from the camera kit in any way, shape or form. I think that if you're a beginner or you don't want to get fiddly, you don't want to start wiring in cameras into a laser, or that's something beyond your means, this is a great way of being able to put a camera element into Lightburn and start working a lot faster. With my results, I was able to start laying out designs with that Auteur Laser 2 very, very quickly, and it allowed me to start working a lot faster when I was laying out my jobs. As I mentioned before, setting up this was really, really quick, but the longest part of that was setting up the calibrations within Lightburn, and I'm going to mention it again, I will be releasing a step-by-step tutorial on how to do that in the near future. Also, let me know in the comments below if you want a copy of this, which happens to be the calibration template that I made just to test how well the camera works. If you guys want a copy of it, let me know below and I'll see what I can do to put it up for everyone who would like a copy. If you have any questions about the Atomstack Maker AC1 Lightburn camera, feel free to post it in the comments below. Or if you're interested in getting one yourself, check out the description that's down below. I'll leave a link not only to the Atomstack website, but where you can get your own camera kit and take your laser projects to the next level. So that's my review on the Atomstack Maker AC1 Lightburn camera. Till next time, go and make something amazing with your laser and check out some of these videos right here so that you can learn everything about Lightburn and lasers. We'll see you real soon.